So, yeah, well, I'll come to just a little bit about why this happened. I was working with constellations and the body, and noticing that when I was working with trauma, because the constellations I was doing were trauma constellations to do with um, uh, the parts inside us, the splits we have, the way our survival strategies, the way we cope. And I was seeing that people were getting dysregulated, and I really wanted to understand more, because this form of trauma constellations I found wasn't quite safe. I wanted to really work more with the body. So, of course, then I found Deb Dana's work, which is just fantastic, and started to put it together with internal family systems, which was the new way I was working, bringing that into constellations, and just put the two side by side. And by working in these workshops with people and referring to what was going on in their body, I found there was much more regulation, slowing down, really paying attention, not just to the parts, but also what's happening now. So on the left-hand side, we have the
Wait,
internal.
I'll put it up so we
Yeah,
can talk here.
thank you.
That, shoop, here we go.
Yeah, so on the left-hand side, we have the internal family systems structure, looking at protectors and exiles and self. So I'll come to that in a minute. And on the right-hand side, we have the polyvagal theory areas, which I've been a tiny bit loose with, and I'll come to that in a minute, which is much more around the nervous system and the way that we cope, we manage when we have to deal with danger. And down the center is my very simplified way of understanding these different places, which, when somebody is dealing with extreme dysregulation or overwhelm, or the kind of the way that trauma can affect the brain, it just, these very simple little words can access a sensation, a feeling. And they are based on, again, another model. All this is pulling together other people's models, and then I've added some pieces to make it complete. And so if we go on the left-hand side, you'll see we have the green space, this green zone at the bottom. And in the UK, this is like traffic lights, red, yellow, green. I know in some countries it's not the same. For Deb Dana, it's not the same. She's in Canada, and it's the other way around. So this doesn't make sense to her, and her work is the other way around.
Yeah, in Germany, it's this way too. So this is always the way we talk about it.
Great, yeah, and I know Stephen Porges also put it this way around originally as well. So we have this lovely green zone where we're regulated. We can find safety, and if we have to go up, which we have to, we don't want to get rid of these fight, flight, and freeze states. It's very normal and natural. We need them to cope with what's going on. If we need to go up the spiral, we can come back down again. So ideally, we would have enough of this lovely basis that we've developed through good learning early in life, that we can move up and down this spiral very
so
easily.
in a very simple visual way, this is the way we talk about it in the holistic bodywork training. It's like, yeah, I may go up, I may even go all the way up, but I can come back down.
Exactly. Precisely. And you see how different this is from the window of tolerance model, which this is actually why this happened. This is why this came about, because the window of tolerance didn't make sense to me, where you have regulation in the center and you have hyperarousal, which would be my yellow zone above, and hypoarousal, which would be my red zone below, because we don't go through a regulated place between those two. No, we go up. And if we can't fight or flee, so if we can't manage to cope in the central section by fighting or running away, we have to go to freeze.
Yeah, and this understanding, which I imagine will be really important, because this is one of the more important and more interesting things I want to talk about with you. The freeze protectors is as we go up, yes, it looks like there's less energy because people get more collapsed, more frozen, but actually, in the nervous system, this is the most available energy, because when the nervous system is in I'm almost dead zone, when we're in the red, it's like, but it looks like there's not much energy in the body from the outside.
Yeah, well, it certainly can be. And it all depends where you are in the freeze. I mean, freeze is a
Mm-hmm.
very broad, if you've gone into collapse, if you've gone into a faint,
Mm-hmm.
that's because the energy is so big, it's unbearable. So the body actually has to cut it off. On the other hand, we might be in a functional freeze where we look very shut down, but there'll be hypervigilant parts all happening as well. So I'm very aware that it's rare that and this is why it fits so beautifully with internal family systems, where there are many parts. We don't just have one thing operating. Many parts are involved in every situation, and it all
Yeah.
depends on the different levels that are operating. So we may be in their functional freeze of appearing very shut down, but our hypervigilant protectors or self-critic ones are really hammering at us.
Mm-hmm.
So shall I swap a little to the left-hand side? Is that too soon to swap over? I don't know how short you want to be with
No,
introducing these
swap.
two.
I think we'll then do the details later.
Yeah. So if we compare it on the left-hand side, starting again in this green zone, this is where we have enough connection to our self energy, which in internal family systems, it's that very dark green zone at the bottom. It's a place of being. It's not a place of doing. So you can see actually the circular areas on my model are more places of being. It's like
Mm-hmm.
the essence of this pure hurt, pure emotion, or pure
Mm-hmm.
in the I hurt zone, the exile zone, which is not part of polyvagal, which is why it's a separate color. Or the I am, again, not part of polyvagal. This essence, this soul, this inner light, inner knowing, where we can. It's a reservoir, if you like, of presence,
Mm-hmm.
clear, calm, connected, and compassionate. So if we have this connection to our soul reservoir, our inner light, we can move with whatever needs to happen. All our parts that are being creative or playful or challenged can do what they do. If we need to go into fight, flight, if we need to freeze, we still have this connection to I am, which is why you see the spiral. It has its roots right down there in I am. We
Mm-hmm.
can always come back to that, even if it's been hidden, even if it's been very hidden by trauma that's happened to us. It is there. It's always there in all of us. So there we have the green zone where we would like to spend much of our lives, but then things happen. Of course, we get activated. There are emergencies. We need to go into the I must zone, into the fix zone. And here our fix protectors will jump into action by running away, by hiding, by being a perfectionist, whatever they need to do. In the moment, that's fine. But when we get stuck there, that's where we get ADHD or OCD or become a cynical person or whatever it is that we're doing. These are doing parts to protect ourselves. Similarly, if we can't fix it there, if we can't sort it out, one of the ways we may cope, we may learn to cope, is to go into these freeze protectors, which I've divided into two: collapse and
Mm-hmm.
submit. So the pure freeze, this collapse, and that's the dorsal vagal. This is the pure space of it's absolutely impossible to cope. So I have to cut off completely. And there we might see ways that are to do with utterly detaching and really not functioning in life. But of course, we can't sustain that. You can't live and faint. I mean, you come out of the faint, but if the situation has not improved after our faint, we'll either learn to cope with some permanent or semi-permanent fight flight protectors in action, or in this submit zone where it's a space of I can't sort it out. I have no hope of sorting it out. So I will just have to continue by cutting off